Right, so what we're going to try and look at here is get a little bit of stiffness out of your playing. And what I mean by that is the thought process. As soon as we start thinking about what we play, we do tend to stiffen up and it doesn't become quite as musical. Now, I came across a great way of which to try and help alleviate this. Initially, what we're going to try and do is what I call a 16th note flow. And what we're going to try and do is do 16th notes, and again, you must do it at a speed that suits your standard at the moment. The whole idea of this is that we will get to a certain speed where you'll be playing too fast for your brain to go, I'm going to hit this hi-hat, this drum, this cymbal. I'll demonstrate it first, and then I've got a little drum machine here, so you can hear I've got a little drum loop going on. I do prefer drum loops to cowbells because I find it a little bit uninspiring. A drum loop gives me the feeling of a percussion player, and you can start swinging. If you start swinging and start dancing, start grooving, the smile comes on the face, it comes out in your playing, you're a bit more expressive, the musicians love you for it, you get booked again for that gig instead of sitting at home with your Chinese wondering why you're not out playing. Always remember that. Now then, the 16th note flow is, as I said before in previous lessons, these haven't got brains, they're not going anywhere. If you choose to have a 35-piece drum kit with 84 cymbals, hit the lot, or save your money and take a few women out. However, but for the women drummers, take a few men out. That'll make a change, wouldn't it? However, if you have got all this equipment, hit it. That's the whole idea of it. Now, what I'm going to end up doing is even beats and hitting around the drums. I'll play without a relative time at the moment, but I'll play them even so I can just demonstrate what it is. I'm not interested in accents at the moment. It's just getting you used to flowing around the kit and hitting different parts of the kit. Here we go. I know it doesn't sound, these cymbals, I know it doesn't sound very musical at the moment, but this is the beauty of it. The secret lies in the drum machine, because that's going to inspire you to be musical. Now what happens is, they have dynamics all their own. That sound, it's giving me a dynamic without me necessarily playing one particularly harder than the others. The nature of the tones of the drums and the cymbals will allow that. I'll put the machine on, it's at 120 BPM. If you find it too fast when you're practicing something at 120, slow it down. And the whole idea of this exercise is I just want you to do single strokes, 16th note single strokes, just like I've demonstrated there, but relative to the time, simply because it's very important that we play in time, drummers, even though the majority of musicians think that whenever you speed up, it's the drummer's fault, whenever you slow down, it's the drummer's fault, whenever you're too quiet, it's the drummer's fault, and whenever you're too loud, it's the drummer's fault. Well, we've got news for them, haven't we? Now, don't moan about us, sack us, and get someone else. Until then, zip it and put up with me. Are you following? Now, I'm going to try and stretch over for a second, put my headphones on so I can hear what I'm doing. 120 BPM, and this is a 16th note flow. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now then, yes, I know in the first couple of bars, I did it again. I threw the odd double in, so I don't want you writing in, explaining the fact I didn't do what I said. That was my inner natural ability coming out, which is what the next stage, what you've got to come to. You've got to start off at the most basic form, which is your singles at the moment, to get fluidity and move so that the movement isn't inhibiting you going out of time, as well as you getting used to playing different areas of the drum kit without thinking I'm going to hit that drum and hit that drum because the tempo is going too fast. You're now hitting the drums from here. It's impossible to think that quick. Of course, the next stage is to employ some of those marvellous doubles without going out of time. So it not only adds a bit of control to the double stroke and your single stroke, but you're also employing doubles within the drums. And the funny thing that starts to happen is you get these little phrases that start to sound even more musical. I shall demonstrate again. 120, B, a P, a M. Here we go. One, two, 1, 2. Now, obviously in my humble opinion, you may think it's a load of crap and you just switched it off. However, this really is what drumming's all about. The fluidity to be able to go from, remember, 2 elements, singles and doubles, smoothly, and now we're starting to add a little bit more musicality there. I'm not deliberately putting accents in. The accents are just me, I'm starting to swing with it and I'm embellishing this wonderful instrument, and it's drawing its own dynamics out. This is where the ingredients and the root of all your playing is going to come from here. Another little magic secret from myself to you as a gift, simply because you can't think about doing that. You have to play, and what we're trying to do is to be at one with the drum kit and to play like it's second nature. This forces it. Now you are going to slip up. Don't worry about the mistakes. Mistakes is what experience is. If I could change the word experience, I'd put mistake there. Because the more mistakes you make, the more you learn about it, and learning is part of experience. So make a zillion of them, and then you won't make any more. The next stage up, of course, if you've noticed, for the clever ones, I didn't even employ one foot. That was just hands. You then have to employ a foot. So we have to disregard either a right or a left, still keeping the 16th note method, and employ the foot. So we're working on the independent factor, again, not going out of time, keeping it in good time, listening to the machine, get a bit of a swing on, no thought for it, just try and play as free as you possibly can. Now, you're not going to get it in 5 minutes. I don't expect you to get it in 5 minutes. What I expect you to do is to realise, and once you understand here, that this is going to make you play from here, it gives you a starting point. That's important. Here we go, 120 BPM. One, two, 1, 2. Right, so hopefully you can see this thing starting, the level starting to build up, starting to get some kind of little thing going on. Now, obviously, the more accomplished you get this, and please, you must be prepared to be a little bit disciplined about it, but also be a bit patient for this to start to transpire. We can then obviously move the tempo up, and we can also subdivide. For those of you who don't know what subdivision is when we're playing with a tempo and we play a different kind of tempo within that tempo. Basically, if the quarter note, I shall play on the bass drum. My right hand is now playing a subdivision twice the speed of my bass drum. So if the bass drum's playing quarter notes, this is playing eighth notes, that's a subdivision twice as fast. Eighth note triplet will be a triplet subdivision faster than the bass drum. On I'm now using 3 beats to each pulse. If I play 4 beats, that becomes the 16th note subdivision to the bass drum. And so on. And what we tend to do, governed by our technique again, that magic word, our technique allows us to subdivide at certain tempos within the basic foundation tempo, i.e. 120 BPM, depending on how good my technique is. I subdivide at no particular time. Obviously what you need to try and do is the faster you get this 16th flow going, you're now pushing your technique. That will allow you to subdivide at then a slower pace or a quicker pace. So what I shall try and do now is I'll move the 120 BPM up to 140, so I've moved it up 20 BPM, if I can get there. And I'll come back to demonstrate just that little last segment that I just did at 140, so you can see how the technique will lift, the tempo will lift, and hopefully it'll sound quite good. Okay, I'm back. So here we go. We've now got 140 BPM. One, two, three. Okay, so that gives you a little insight. As you can see, I'm pushing my technique a little bit more. I've still done no subdivisions yet. Now, when you're doing that, obviously you're moving the tempo up, you're moving your technique. The subdivisions in question, obviously trying them at a slower pace, is when I'm doing, I'll play it without the click for the moment, is when I'm going... As you can hear, I'm changing my tempos and stuff like that. So just to finish off, what I'd like to just demonstrate now is that kind of scenario at the faster pace, so you can realise that if you do the groundwork for this, you're now playing 100% from there. And if there are mistakes, which I'm sure there are going to be a few, we're real, but we're playing from the heart, and it means more to play from the heart than the head. This is it. Check me out next time. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's it.